Brown 45. Brown 45. Hot, 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 hot.
Of commercial-free football start now.
I missed that expression, but we are here. Postseason football has happened. We have our Final Four. It is set. It will be the Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Buffalo Bills, and it will be the Washington Commanders heading into Philadelphia. Great week of football. Had some hiring, had some, I don't think any more firing. I don't know if you guys have seen the TikTok trend or the thing is like, my dad drives a BMW, but my dad drives a Rolls Royce. My dad drives an F-250. It was somebody doing the hiring around the league is like, I hired Pete Carroll, I hired Ben Johnson, I hired John Glenn, and then fucking the Cowboys. I hired Schottenhauer. Just like, way to go, Cowboys. You Cowboys yourself. Dion wasn't going to be controlled. By the way, I am 2 steps away from predicting this correct. At the start of the season, I picked the Kansas City Chiefs to play the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl. It was very chalkish. I got eye rolls from Scully, and it ends up being almost there. Do I want that to happen? Only time will tell. First up, Mark getting ahead of the 2026, I think, draft class or 2027 draft class. I'm not sure where he's coming out. Arch Manning is a bust. Puts his flag in it, says it right now. I would hope that you think he's more Eli than Peyton anyways. But how are you doing?
I mean, listen, I just want him to be bad. Unless, he decides, to pack his bags, move like 2 hours, going east, then he may be the greatest quarterback ever. He probably best since Johnny Manziel to do it. That'd be awesome. I'm just upset just because if the Rams could block for one play, they'd be in the NFC Championship game.
Let's
in the NFC Championship.
Don't make me tee you up. You do really good at this. We're not talking about the games yet. We're talking about how you
want to get in front of it.
Technical. Jalen Carter, who had a chance to draft him. Interesting. Robert.
Yeah.
Your coach is staying. How are you?
Yeah.
I'm good. I learned that the 11-year-old boy who got the Paul Skeens card decided to say, fuck you, Pirates, and put it up for auction. Not even the prospect of a Livy Dunn rendezvous could excite that little boy.
30 years of Pirates tickets. I did the math. I looked it up since 95. They have lost 500 more games than they've won, which is equal to like 3.5 losing full seasons. So is what it is. Sad day, bad day. He hasn't been here in a while. Doesn't like to show up, doesn't like to do the work, kind of hates the show. It's going to really be interesting how he does next season because I will announce something that we will be doing next season for it because we have been renewed by the video store. I did tell everybody this. We did get picked up for 3rd season. Helps when the runner of the channel and they're about to switch over to my, I guess me and Mark StreamYard, where we can basically do the show wherever. We did get picked up for a 3rd season. That was exciting. But Coho, you're here. You didn't get to eat crow last week when your team decided, when your team died. How are you?
It was embarrassing. It was frustrating. Darnold showed up the way everyone thought he would all year, finally in the worst fucking spot. That was great. Fun to be. Real fun. Lost to 2 teams all year. It was the same 2 teams twice. That's great. Great feeling. But yeah, I think these playoffs have been really fun, barring my team. It's been really interesting to see all the different matchups, and like even the ones where it doesn't look close or feel close. I didn't like hate things like the Bills Broncos game. At least had like a weird energy to it, where it was like, okay, I'm enjoying watching this blowout because it's Josh Allen being great. The Ravens Bills game is great. Like there's a lot of great games so far that's happened this year.
Ooh,
I'll talk about
ooh, that's the second. One more, I'm ejecting the whole team. I'm just going to throw it out there. I will have order on my court.
Yeah.
Let's be calm.
San Francisco.
Yes, so next season, I'm announcing this here first time. We're not going to be picking every game next season. That's gone. We will pick 5 games a week, but the game cannot be picked more than so only 2 people can have that game. I was going to make it 3, only 2 people. So say it's a terrible matchup, New England versus Buffalo. Mark throws it out first. I throw it out second. That game is locked for the rest of the panel. Then it moves from where it is. So you got to be strategic where you place it. And each of your 5 picks are weighted by points, 5 through 1. So overall, still high or low record. Winner, jersey of your choice.
Ooh.
Put up by me. Unless I win, then I just save money. So that's exciting. Hoping to win. Didn't change the rules because I lost. I promise. Robert is the true champion. I will own that. Mark was champion last year. I think the year before. So, granted. All right. Recap. This is a bigger one that we need to discuss. So, I think our group chat kind of blew up when Detroit was playing a game on Monday night or something, I think it was, or 49ers. It was just like a dog race. And we're like, whoever gets this is just going to fucking just lose because their defense is ass. And then we got rocked by a false sense of security of how they looked against Minnesota. But I think that's because Minnesota's offensive line was really bad near the end, and Sam Darnold had to run for his life, and they couldn't really do a whole lot. Plus, the game to decide the division, there were more holds all over the field than I've ever seen in my life, and the refs just decided, hey, we're going to keep this. We're going to keep this in Detroit. We're not going to Minnesota, which is fine. I'm okay with that. No problem whatsoever. So that game, I think, I didn't find it as surprising, personally. It was surprising because they were able to execute and go through, but we'll get to that. Let's get to the main crux. Who's this game on? Because I know a lot of people are throwing a lot of shit at Mark Andrews, which you should. But Lamar Jackson is not an innocent person in this thing at all. He fumbled to drive the people down to the goal line to where he gets it. He throws one of the worst interceptions I've seen this season. There was not a receiver in the area. Miscommunication, whatever you want to call it. Basically saved all his turnovers for the win it mattered most. Mark Andrews does get the ball punched out. And then doesn't catch the 2-point conversion, which is only the Baltimore Ravens 2-point conversion. That's the only play they know. It does get people open. Does not guarantee a catch. So who are we putting this fault on? And also I want to talk about you unauthentic, like you phony frauds, all you in the chat, because you guys crucify Patrick Mahomes the week, throws for low yards, the trash, blah, blah. Josh Allen throws for 122 yards, and not one of you fucking say shit. So you have Chiefs derangement syndrome, which we will get to. But this is the game. Who's to blame?
I think Lamar has to shoulder a lot of the blame. Everybody was ready to write off the narrative. I listened to a joint podcast before the Steelers-Ravens game where they talked about like the narrative on Lamar is a little bit misleading. Like there were games where he I think it was the Buffalo game or whatever, where he threw for like 500 yards or something. And they still lost. But I think they're like the Steelers of the regular season. And by that, I mean, you can watch them beat the shit out of teams who don't really belong in the playoffs. But when it actually comes to nut up time against teams who are in the playoffs, he crumbles. You're going to want to pick the other team all the time. If it's Kansas City, if it's Buffalo, if it's Cincinnati, if it's any of the teams like that, he will falter. And he faltered at the worst. They should have had the momentum to take that game by the balls. And he instead kicked himself in the balls, which is quite a feat. It's not an easy thing to do. But Lamar's athletic enough to do it. And he did it multiple times and did set them up for failure. So I think he should shoulder the brunt of it. Mark Andrews, second half, I mean, he's done that before. You said it, Cody. That is their 1 2-point play. They did it against the Steelers last year when they were trying to win the game. Guess what? He failed then too. So John Harbaugh should also shoulder a little bit of blame for knowing that shit like that can happen. But I think Lamar should. It's the narrative. Quarterbacks get wins. They get win stats. It's dumb because it's a team sport. But they get the win stats because they get all the glory and they get all the shit that rolls downhill. A lot of shit rolls downhill on him.
I guess. I don't. Listen, Lamar definitely made some mistakes, 100%. Though, at the end, game was on the line. Flowers is gone. Rashad Bateman was on the sideline. He orchestrated a drive to get him a touchdown. And Mark Andrews can't make, like, literally the easiest catch to 2-point conversion to tie it up. Like, it's sure. It just feels weird whenever, we're gonna place a lot of blame on a player. However, if that player wasn't there, they wouldn't be in this game to begin with. So it's just I feel like we always have this. We play this weird dance with Lamar Jackson. Honestly, a lot of players where it's like, it's because of them they lost this game. But like if they weren't there, they wouldn't be fucking here in the first place. Like I don't think I got to remind any of you about the time when he got hurt and Tyler Huntley led that team to like 1-7 or whatever.
Oh, anything?
I think at least I agree that I think Lamar has to shoulder part of this because the interception is huge, the turnovers are huge. I get that, and all year it was like, oh, he threw 4 picks, but everyone was like, those 4 picks aren't even really his fault. Like if you really look at it, yeah, he gets the interception, but he really kind of didn't. It's not his fault. And then he gets to the biggest spots, the biggest game, and he shits the bed. It's happened every time he gets here. The furthest he goes in the playoffs, the furthest he gets, he's primarily one of the bigger reasons why they lose. It's an interception. It's a turnover. It's not throwing for as many yards. It's the fact that they were like, all right, we're going to shut down Derrick Henry and leave the ball in Lamar's hands, and that's how we win. I think that that's kind of a big deal. And he's a 2-time, probably soon to be 3-time MVP. And I think that's a huge problem is that if you're going to be this Hall of Fame caliber player and you're going to get to the playoffs and you shit the bed as often as he does, it's tough. Because it's like Josh Allen and the Bills constantly run into the buzzsaw that is Kansas City, or they drop that one game to Joe Burrow's Bengals. So the Ravens' excuse is they just can't beat the best teams. They already crushed the Bills earlier in the year. And now you play them in the playoffs, and they did just dog-walked you on defense. In terms of the picks, the turnovers, I just think that Lamar tried to engineer that. I do think Mark Andrews deserves a big piece of blame for dropping that catch. I agree it's like the easiest fucking catch he should have made. But I just think that team made too many mistakes to be in that position.
Here's the issue that I have. I agree with Mark. We do label quarterbacks and stuff with this thing. If it isn't for Lamar Jackson, they're not at the goal line scoring the touchdown to get a chance at a 2-point play. If he's not in that game. I don't think Buffalo's defense kept him in check. Sure, they made plays when they had to make plays, but overall they stopped Derrick Henry, which made them have to question where they were going, which was smart. And how they were stopping Derrick Henry is still just up in the air, confusing to me. I don't know. The question all on sports radio, there was all this week is Jaden Daniels the best quarterback? Is he a top 5 quarterback in the league? Is Lamar ever going to win the Super Bowl? Where is he at? All this stuff. I think the answer is yes. I think he can, of course. Like they even asked like what's the bigger storyline this season before the game was played? Kansas City winning their three-peat or Lamar Jackson winning his MVP. I was like,
That's
what? A random quarterback or a random quarterback winning their first trophy is not like that happens. That's the thing. A three-peat's never been done. It's not even a question. It's not even a question. Sure, we don't. A lot of people don't want to see it, and I'm fair with that. I totally understand that. But here's the situation. I don't know. It's a hard thing. I think it might be more coaching than anything that gets them over that hump. There's got to be something playing. There's got to be a question mark, and I don't think Lamar is your problem because Lamar gets you there. But again, they're getting older. Everything's where you're going to be. So you're going to figure out something. Like it was weird that they remember the offseason? Do they want to pay Lamar? Or they want to pay Lamar? Is he going to get traded to Atlanta? Like, what are we doing? Like, and now he's like this. So question mark. Second game, I'll go down to it because let's talk about the Chiefs derangement syndrome that drove me absolutely crazy. I will just boldly say it. I'm holding a 650 odd ticket for the Kansas City Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. So I am very Kansas City in. That's financially. But we are absolutely out of our absolute goddamn mind if we think those two penalties is the reason Kansas City won that game. And guess what? I'm not saying this group thinks that. I'm saying the American public thinks this. I agree. We have lost our mind. When he did that fake flop out of bounds, and everybody's like, it wasn't called. We are getting angry over something that did not happen. We also, the very first call, the head-to-head, they show us the one convincing angle that doesn't show us helmet down. Fair. They show us the second angle where the mask hits. I'm sorry, I have a really big problem with this in everything. This is just where we're at in this society. It happened with Brady. It happened with Manny. It happened with Breeze. It happened with the only quarterbacks you never get to call are running quarterbacks. They just fuck them. You run, you're going to get your head taken off. I don't give a shit.
Or if you were too big to be pulled down, I'll Ben Roethlisberger. We got punched.
Ben Roethlisberger, yeah. Don't give a shit. You can take that hit. But the thing is, everybody's at the Chiefs. In the fourth quarter or overtime, in the last 2 years, Kansas City opponents are at 48 flags. Can anybody tell me what Kansas City's number is?
They don't have that many flags.
Fourth quarter and overtime in the last 2 years, Kansas City. Their opponent's 48. How many does Kansas City have?
I'm going to guess like
41.
47.
Okay. Yeah.
It's always 47.
But we're running a situation that's just not there. I get it. Though I believe this is a rule thing. That run where he's running and he slides late and they tackle on top of him, that needs to be taken out of the game. You can't play with the defenders like that. It's not fair to them. They already have so many rules against them. That shouldn't have been. But at the end of the day, that was a 1st and 10. Worst case scenario, it's 2nd and 5. Even if they don't call it. We're ridiculous. We're going. They have literally. Houston had one of the worst special teams performances I have ever watched on a Saturday. Missed 2 field goals, an extra point, and the opening kickoff was drove. They ran it back 70 yards, and their psychopathic guy that fumbled the ball rips his helmet off, shoves his coach, and celebrating, and puts him in. Like, it was crazy. So overall, my thing about the Chiefs do not get more calls than everybody else. But the overall is, I hate when a team comes out and celebrate and everything is, we knew we were playing the refs. We knew we were playing the refs. It was us versus them and the refs. If that's your call, then why are you tackling at the shoulders? why are you giving them a reason to call anything on you? If you knew this, if this was your game plan all year round, and you knew you were going to be up against the referees, why are you giving them a shot? The reason why Kansas City doesn't get a lot of those calls is because they're one of the most disciplined teams out there. That's the problem with them. That's one of the hardest, that's the most annoying thing. Look at what he did. That stupid dive pass that he did, and Kelsey's just standing there and looking at the defender like, buddy. Oh, I love the clip. It was like, oh, it's us versus the refs, and like the wide open field, and Kelsey's just in the middle of the field catching the ball and does an ankle break and runs into them. Like, it is what it is. I know it's annoying because, again, you don't. I think like Mark doesn't have an NFL team. I don't have an NFL team, but like the overall is you want to see somebody new. You want to see something different. Like that makes sense. I don't blame anybody for that. I would kill for a Washington Buffalo matchup. Like that's just give it to me. That would be so much fun, right? No, like a franchise that has won. So what were you guys' take on the Houston Chiefs game? And yeah, 7th straight AFC Championship game. Fucking disgusting.
Patrick Mahomes has literally never not made it to the conference championship game as a starter. It's gross. And I think there's been this weird thing around the Chiefs all year when people talk about them, which is like, oh, they're not that good. They're the worst 15-win team in the history of football or all this dumb shit. But at the end of the day, I think the reason people are upset is because they're not winning in like cool fashion the way they did the first time. It's not like Mahomes throwing like 80-yard bombs while running for his life and like playing hero ball. They're just a really good football team. They don't make mistakes. They move the ball. Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. Andy Reid's the best coach in the league.
I think since week 12, the amount of teams that have like turn on 270 turnovers or something like that, and the Chiefs have 0.
Yeah,
like,
the Chiefs are just a ridiculously good team on a mission. And let's be honest, they're probably going to three-peat. They want it, they're probably going to get it because they are just that good. And I think what's annoying to people is that they are that good. It's just that's what people are mad about. It's not that the excuses that the Chiefs have refs on their side, or the excuses that the Chiefs they're trying to find reasons for why the Chiefs are winning that doesn't justify the take that they're a good team. Because everyone wants to believe that this Chiefs team is not that good because they're not fun to watch. Or some crazy, like Mahomes isn't playing flashy hero ball. Travis Kelce doesn't look as fun as he used to, making catches and bulldozing people. They're
Mark's
just
about to crawl out of his skin.
They're just playing good football, and they're probably going to three-peat. And honestly, I won't be pissed if they do, because I feel like everyone's shitting on a team that's playing just good football.
Listen, I will say something like to this. Like, I as Cody said, you know, I'm an observer. You know, I'm just a viewer. You know, I just watch the games. And, you know, I get it. You're coming at me with these numbers. I will say, just as far as this narrative goes,
I love it.
Whenever the Chiefs do kind of need a call, they get a call. And it's just the way that works. Now, does that kind of work for like almost every like popular winning franchise out there? Yeah, it does. It's just kind of the way the league works, and it's just kind of what it is. And if you don't want that to happen to you, you just can't be in that position. And that's the kind of the thing that I think definitely makes the Chiefs annoying to watch, because they always seem to be just in the right position, even though like you can argue that like they're not playing like their best football. That's not technically true, because they're playing really as far as like the three phases, they play very good in special teams, they play very good in defense. They don't play very well in offense. Like that's just the way their team is right now. They don't like hell, even looking at their offense for that game, Mahomes threw for 177 yards, and their running game totaled for 50 yards. Like it just felt like they did nothing.
It was,
but it didn't matter because like what?
It's similar to Josh when he played Buffalo. They were like starting on their opponent's 50 every like down. So like there was no like they didn't have Lamar had to drive 90 yards. The Bills had to start at the 40. And the same thing happened with Kansas City. They missed field goals on the 40 and then just was like, okay, well, we're on this side and this is where we're going to go. So I'm with you. They're all I'll push back on Coho. Their offense does not click. But it's like when they need something, they know where to go and where to figure it out, and they just get it done.
I just think on some level it makes them kind of annoying to watch.
Yeah.
And also, like, if you're I can't imagine as a player playing them, especially like when you're the Texans and you're in that game and like you're behind by like a score for virtually the entire game, but you know in your heart that you're not in it, which it has to be the most demoralizing shit ever. Like but yeah, it's the way it is with them. I'm curious to see what happens this coming week. You know, I think they're like this. It's just weird for like the last 5 years. Like, Kansas City doesn't really face a challenge, so they get to the AFC Championship game. It's just the way it works.
I want to talk about the game, and then I want to talk about a bigger picture Kansas City thing. The calls do not impact the overall consideration for how the game went for the Texans. Texans fired Bobby Slowick today. Do you know why? Because his offensive schemes were fucking terrible for 2 years. CJ Stroud and Nico Collins and Joe Mixon this year helped gloss over how that went, but they got rid of him because of how fucking terrible he was. And Cody alluded to Kami Fairbairn, who everybody wanted to make like the second or third best kicker in the AFC, fucking sucks now, and he should be demoted down the list a little bit.
That kick wasn't on the screen.
No.
Yeah, he's supposed to be better than that. He's definitely supposed to be better than he was in the beginning. And Cody, you alluded to like the Bills did enough on defense to win that game. All the other defenses who won, the Eagles and the Commanders, also had the same thing where they did enough to win. The only one who didn't was Kansas City, partly because of how they played on defense, but also because of how shitty the Texans were on offense in general.
I mean, they got 8 sacks. Like, it was fucking disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, their offensive line just cratered. They weren't very good the whole year, but they cratered in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, calls being what it is. I was listening to Todd McShay today, and he said, like, in that Bills Kansas City game in week 11 where they won, most of the time when teams get to play Kansas City and it gets to like the middle part of the fourth quarter or whatever, there's a thing where like everybody always their buttholes tighten and they always play really conservative. And the reason the Bills won that game is because they went into that last drive playing like they were down 4, not up 4. And so they took the chances that teams don't normally take, and they took the game by the throat. Teams tend not to do that, and that sort of magnifies in the playoffs. And Kansas City's just used to, and they've done it so many times that everything's second hat to them. For other teams, it's not. So they get a little bit more in their own heads. Buffalo might be the only team, Cincinnati a couple of years ago. But Buffalo now, considering where they've been and how many times they played them, might be in a situation where they're not to that degree. The other thing I want to say is McShay also mentioned that like when they realized Mahomes was the guy, they decided to go away from an offensive philosophy of how they drafted, and they mostly drafted defense. And you can see that by like the picks that they've used over the course of the last 3 to 4 years, especially because they know that Mahomes doesn't really care about the other weapons besides Kelsey. He was like, when they're playing a game, Mahomes will like rely on 2 people, himself and Kelsey. Even if people are open, like he could make throws if they're like in danger, but he'll like do the thing where he shuffles and buys more time and just waits for Travis Kelsey to be open. And that's all he cares about in the playoffs because those are the only 2 people he relies on. And I was like, well, it works. And it's probably going to work another time. I'm for the 3-peat because, as I've said, if they 3-peat, my hope is that Kelsey retires and then the whole circus Malercus can freaking die. And not the Kansas City Chiefs in general, just the circus of everything that goes around them. So I don't care. I hope they do it so that we can see history. That's cool. And then we can go off into the undying lands and then something new can happen.
Before we get into this situation, I think their big thing at this point, Rap, their safety for Bills is out. He got the key interception against Mahomes in the first one, and Jalen Watson, that was originally out for that game, is now back. So McDuffie and Watson will both be on the field ready for that. So it's a different scenario. Again, anything can happen. Again, going into that game, Buffalo versus Baltimore, Buffalo got their ass completely handed to them, and then they won. So, like, anything can happen. I'm on the record. I'd rather lose that first game because the second game, it's hard to beat a team twice. Speaking of that, it's really hard to beat a team 3 times. Well, you won't have that case because the one took it. It's going to be an interesting game. So Washington goes into Detroit, literally shellacks them, puts up 45 points. But Detroit put up 31. So at the end of the day,
With 5 turnovers.
yeah, Washington's defense. Oh yeah, talk about. I did love the clip of Mahomes sliding down and getting that personal foul, and Jared Goff getting sent to the shadow realm, and Teddy Bridgewater having to come in and play the football.
Teddy Two Gloves, man. He had
I
42
will just say for 1 second, I love
I'm not gonna have glazing.
No, I love Teddy Bridgewater as a person, as a player, and it was nice to see him get to take a snap in a playoff game.
I mean, I think he was coaching high school football before
He
they
coached
got
his high school
signed.
football team to their state championship win. He won it in his first season as a coach, and then came back to the NFL to be a backup for Jared Goff to try and win a Super Bowl, and it didn't work out.
I think the more impressive game was Mark was a touchdown away from at least getting a team to. And if you'd say Rams versus Washington, I think Rams could be representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. And Sean McVay. So that game was an interesting game to watch. I don't know how you guys felt, but like how it started completely nothing on the ground, like you knew it was cold, and then they just started running. And then as it proceeded, the third quarter happened. No one knew what to do. Saquon's disgusting, like just putting away games. Jalen Carter. I don't know how the final play of the game is not to double team Jalen Carter. He goes through twice. Matthew Stafford can't get the ball out and delivers it.
Fuck was that? I mean, come on, like
even then, so that's the weird thing about the Philadelphia Eagles. And this is why, like, I think Coho said at the start of the season that he thinks Nick Sirianni was going to be the first fired. But, like, he's a basket case or something happens with him.
Yep.
There's no reason why that game should have been close. Saquon had like 200 yards rushing. Fucking Jalen Hurts scrambled for 50 for a touchdown. They were just flying all over. Their passing game is weird as shit, and it makes no sense to me. And I think that's because Jalen Hurts is not that great of a quarterback, if you want my honest opinion. I think we've seen enough at this point. I think he's fine, but I don't think he can elevate to a point where he has to deliver a ball when it matters most against a hard defense. But it's just weird. How was it 26-22 or whatever? 28-22? It's just, if you watch that game, it was 100% I could have turned it off and been like, oh, the Eagles win massive. And then to realize it was 6 points and they were right on the cusp of just needing a touchdown to win. It's why I just have doubts on the Eagles in general. I don't think there's a doubt when we talk about the game. I don't think there's a doubt there. I don't think that's the issue. But what were your guys' takes? This is such a weird-ass game. By the way, people coming out and saying they hate snow games, go fuck yourselves. Like, you don't know. Like, that's gross.
I think it's the nature of the snow game, but I agree. They're good. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, just in general, very disappointed how that game went out. Just because, like, I was just kind of fucking around when I just kind of did the picks throughout the whole thing, and I had Rams making it. Thought it'd be funny, and believed it a little bit, and started to slowly believe it throughout the season. Oh, this could happen. And it was a little annoying watching most of that game just because the Rams were honestly getting their ass kicked for the majority of it. Like, they were just not in it. And then Saquon, did what Saquon's done all season, put them out of their fucking misery. And then they fucking come back. Like, if there's anything I think I learned by this game, is that I'm pretty sure even if the Eagles do win this weekend, they're not winning the Super Bowl because they're going to get to that next game, and unless like Saquon runs for like 300 fucking yards or something, Sirianni's going to figure out a way to fuck up the win. Like this is 100% what's going to happen. Like the Eagles are going to do what the Eagles do. They're going to fuck up the last minute because they're going to get out coached, out schemed, or whatever. Like because McVay literally almost did it when he was down 2 scores with like 3 minutes to go. I mean, so yeah, like just my 2 cents on that one. Like I'm 100% like not picking the Eagles like going forward here. Like there's I think this is a false flag operations point. They got Saquon. It's the reason why they're in the NFC Championship right now.
Anybody else?
I 100% agree. I just think the Eagles have been incredibly gifted by Saquon Barkley. This game is their entire team is Saquon Barkley on offense, and then the passing game having its moments, but Hurts is not dynamic enough to do this again. Like they got lucky kind of beating the Rams. Like they kind of just got away with that game. And I can totally see a world where the Commanders get those lucky plays because I don't think Jaden Daniels is going to make too many mistakes. I just think at this point he's shown it. There's not really a rookie jitter mistake streak in him. The dude just is fully formed, ready to play football out the gate, which is incredible. And I think Dan Quinn's a great coach. I think he's proved it with this team. I think that the Commanders
Could be coach of the year.
totally could win it. And I think that at the end of the day, I think Sirianni is a bad head coach. He's a bad head coach that constantly puts the Eagles in the position to lose games that they should be winning, and they win on the back of a couple of key playmakers. If it's Jalen Carter on defense or Saquon Barkley on offense, getting those 1 or 2 plays. But Sirianni is going to be the reason that they don't win the Super Bowl this year, or even maybe win the conference championship game. So,
will Nick Sirianni be the worst coach to make multiple Super Bowls? It will be between him and Mike Tomlin, I swear to God. Anyway, that being aside, I think.
I mean, Mike McCarthy exists, but that's
well,
I guess he made one. He's made one.
He was one and done with Tomlin. Good for him.
My bad.
Yeah. I think there was a speculation that maybe Jalen Hurts is hurt because they
knee something wrong with knee.
Looked like he was like loopy, maybe like on some stuff in the interview post game. So I think that's probably a big portion of this, which makes the scramble all the more impressive, I guess. But yeah, I think what you'll see in this game coming up, and it's weird because the Lions, that Lions Commanders game was like the fucking Falcons Patriots Super Bowl. And by that I mean is that the Falcons were running at like 8 to 9 yards a clip, and all of a sudden they were like, you know what, maybe we should stop running the football. And you're like, yeah, that's good when you're trying to salt the game away when you're up 25. It's a good call. Where they were averaging like 10 yards a carry. And they were like, you know what? Ben Johnson deserves the blame because he's like, you know what? We're going to air it out because that's what smart teams do. I think you're in a situation where obviously the Eagles are going to try to get Saquon like 250 yards and just control the pace of this game because that's all they really need to do against this rush defense. I think from a Washington perspective, and I heard this and it made a lot of sense, is that you're probably going to see up-tempo from Jaden Daniels at everything to try to exhaust the front line of the Eagles. That's the best way to make them ineffective, right? Jalen Carter is to make them tired. It's the main thing that you can do. So I think you're probably going to see a similar game plan where they're just going to go balls to the wall all the time. 4th and 2s, 4th and 3s. They're going to go for all of them because they got nothing to lose. Did you know Jaden Daniels has as many fucking playoff wins as Dak Prescott now? Isn't that hilarious? It's weird. But the thing is that rookies don't succeed in championship games. They just don't. I rooted for a guy who was in the championship game. He got his fucking doors blown off by a potentially cheating Patriots team. But that aside, they did blow the doors off, and it wasn't close. Brock Purdy got hurt, doors blown off. You know, like this happens. Second years is usually when it can kind of expand upon itself. So I don't anticipate that no matter what the Commanders can do, that they'll be able to stop Saquon, and that's kind of the most important thing. But there is a world, and it makes me nervous. I've picked against the Commanders twice, and I've lost 3 games, and I've lost there 2 because I didn't trust them. And I think they could do it. I just don't see it. But the Eagles are lucky to be here because they will send a gift. They will send a ring or whatever to John Mara or whatever, right? And the GM guy, they'll send them rings, right? Because they deserve it. Okay.
I
Here's the
want
thing.
to say something just real quick.
No.
If the Eagles do win the Super Bowl, I think this may be the first time in my lifetime where I've seen a singular player win a team a Super Bowl throughout like an entire postseason run. Like I don't think I've ever seen it happen before. I've only like the closest I can think of is Von Miller, like the 2015-16 Broncos. Like, but other than that, like Saquon is having like maybe one of the most legendary seasons ever.
Julian Edelman.
Seriously?
Go back to that Eagles. Go back to that Patriot Rams game. If Julian Edelman ain't catching that game, we're still there today.
Okay.
It was, but no, you're 100% right. A single player, you're right. This is so we'll get into the games. Washington going to Philadelphia. So here's the problem that I have. There's false hope out there. Now, the one team that plays Philadelphia weird is Washington. It just has been over the years. They always do weird. They were up 21-0 against this team, and Jalen Hurts went out, and they beat Kenny Pickett. Now, Kenny Pickett didn't play a bad game, but Kenny Pickett was the quarterback of that game. And it was 36-33 with the last-second touchdown. Again, defense looked bad. I don't think there's a better team out there that makes adjustments in second halves or like defense because Bobby Wagner's out there. I think he is a veteran voice that's like, hey, this is what's happening. He can calm everybody down. I think Philadelphia gets too cute. I think they do. They make decisions. They have terrible clock management. Like, I understand Saquon scored that touchdown. You think you put it away. I think you slide at some point down that side and you burn some more clock. You give them more shots. You're asking for things. But again, if you don't get in the end zone, I understand that argument too, where you just lose the game. But like, they just don't know how to burn. They have like the team and I think that was with Jason Kelce there. I don't think they have that leader on offense right now that says like, take a breath, slow. Like Kelce says multiple times how he would just cancel out like audibles. Like, no, we're not doing this. Like, this is what we need. Cam Jurgens isn't that guy. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have that role. So when Kelce says "fuck no," and Lane Johnson and they're not going to say it because they're on the line, so don't do that. Like the offense, like that's where it is. So they're going to play cute. The biggest problem is it's Washington's defense. It's Washington's defense. If Washington had a slightly better, Detroit put up 31. They did take away the ball 5 times, but Jared Goff was doing some terrible passes, if I want to be real. I just think the grind, having to stop Saquon every time against that offensive line, rolling down every 4th down, they're both going to go for it every down they have. Every 4th down, they're both going to go for it. It's going to be a nice way to see it. I think Washington's more successful, but I think that upfront defense the defense, because he said Koa said Jalen Carter and something like that. Sure, those moments happen. But their secondary is fucking great. I don't know if Quentin Mitchell is going to be there, but if he is, he's a gamester. Who's Johnson? Who's the cornerback that got thrown out of the game in the second meeting? He played with Detroit. He came back and played with the Eagles. No. Gardner Johnson?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
He got thrown out for trash talking in that first game, so he was gone. I just think the overall unit of the defense of the Eagles is better. I do think they're a basket case. I do not think they can win the Super Bowl because of that, but I don't think Washington's there. And I think they're going to realize this Sunday. I think Jalen Hurts and them were showing. I think it was the game that AJ complained about passing, and the very next down they were just launching it all over the field on him for 21, and then Jalen went down. And then Kenny Pickett had to come in, and the game was. So not asking for point totals, or I guess I should ask, since you two, definitely the top two, have to leave at a certain point. So I have to find out how many points I have left, but I'm going with the Eagles. I'll tell you my point in a second. Anybody else want to dissect and tell me why a certain team is going to win this game?
I can start. I think the Commanders-Lions game, it dictated to me one thing that I think we all knew, but we kind of had to see how it played out. The NFC is a significant tier below the AFC. The top four in the AFC, the top four in the NFC are it's different worlds. These are incomplete teams with many more flaws than their AFC counterparts. Washington's defense had they're a bottom 3 rush defense, and they still won this game. They won the game because, of course, Jared Goff turned the ball over three freaking times. But against a team like Philly, who plays a lot more conservative on offense, especially now with Jalen Hurts banged up, regardless of his status on Sunday, you're not going to be able to get that kind of motion on defense. You're not going to be able to cause those turnovers. You're not going to be able to put Saquon Barkley in the ground. The Rams did a fairly good job outside of that one big run, touchdown run in the first quarter, until that point. And then it became the same old story it was in the first game against the Rams. Saquon Barkley is inevitable. He's a guy who can win a Super Bowl by himself on almost any roster in the league. So that being said, I mean, the Eagles have the distinct advantage. If Washington is to win, they're going to have to firebomb Philly's defense for all 60 minutes. McLaurin's going to have at least 150 yards. Zach Ertz is going to have a big game. Jaden's going to have to get at least 50, 60 yards on the ground by himself, because Philly's going to slow the game down. They're going to do the same exact thing they did against the Rams. And if they can do that over the course of 60 minutes, which they've shown they can do before, they'll have this in the bag.
I'm more on the Philly side. The one thing that gives me pause, and I think Coho alluded to it, is that my feeling about this, because of what you said, Cody, that they're going to keep going for it on every fourth down, both of them, is that you would think that the team who makes the critical error will be the one to cough the game up. And that, at this juncture, is more likely to be Philly than Washington. That's the only thing that gives me pause. But I more consider, from what Scully was saying, they are 30th in DVOA against the run. That's the worst matchup that you could have when you are in that position. So I don't know how you can be Nick Sirianni and look at that and be like, you know what? Why don't we fuck around and find out about letting Jalen throw it to AJ and Devonta? Why don't we do it? That would be the dumbest.
But you won't.
The Commanders on offense also were able to exploit the Lions' weaknesses by running to the sidelines. Like they spread the field and just wore down the line, especially in the middle of the field. Eagles linebackers aren't going to have that same issue. Like, you're not going to exhaust Zach Bond. Zach Bond is going to hunt down whatever running back is trying to flare out to the sideline. And by the time you move over to that option, Jalen Carter has you on the ground in your ass. I mean, there's that iconic photo of 2 years ago with him lifting up Jane Daniels in the SEC championship game. Wouldn't be shocked if it happens again.
Terry McLaurin has 6 catches for 70 yards and 1 touchdown in 2 games against Philly, and one of those was complete lockdown by Mitchell. So you're going to have to beat other people. And the reason why they won that game was not because of Terry McLaurin, is because CJ got taken out and they had no other people on the other side, and that's what ends up happening. So, Mark, Coho, thoughts? Who are you going with overall?
I think the Commanders are going to win. I really do. I think that they're just the better coach team. They're the team that has got the momentum coming into it. The Eagles, I mean, Jalen Hurts did get a little banged up in that last game, and he didn't look very mobile or very in it on some of those final plays in the last week. So I can see Washington getting to Hurts. I can see Saquon trying to play hero ball and carry this team on his back, but I think the Commanders at this point are a more complete offense at this point. I think Terry McLaurin and Jaden Daniels have that connection. That's really great. I think that they're going to win, and I think the Chiefs are going back to the Super Bowl.
Whoa.
They want me to pick both. Fucker.
Fucker. What do you think you're talking to, Mark? Jesus Christ.
I mean, I think we got time. So, like, I think as long as he comes to us first, like in the next one, it will be all right. I do think it's funny that when Robert was talking about this, he prefaced it by saying, like, well, like, you know, all Nick Sirianni needs to do is not fuck around and find out. Like, I mean, who do you think you're talking about here? Like, I mean, that's been his fucking career is doing this. Like, if Nick Sirianni can make a mistake against the Eagles and the Commanders, that's exactly what he's going to do. Like, he is going to do the worst possible thing you can think of and put his team in a bad situation. Like, I think as far as like placement here, I think the Eagles are probably in a better position. They're at home, and they are coming off a loss, which I would think at the very least, okay, that's something you can at least learn off of. And I think especially from what you guys are bringing up, a lot of things went in the Commanders' favor in that particular game, which, you know, probably isn't going to be the case here. But the Detroit Lions have a pretty good offense, and the Commanders were able to make some stops on the Detroit Lions. If they can make a few stops on the Eagles, they don't even have to completely shut down Saquon Barkley. If they can, you know, cause the one fumble, pick off Jalen Hurts once, and then turn that into points, that's enough. I mean, the Commanders have that explosive of an offense. Like, at this point, like, we may, you know, have to abandon this Cliff Kingsbury narrative. He is 100% turning that shit around. Like, the Commanders have looked nothing short of spectacular in offense. And Jaden Daniels has at least earned some benefit of the doubt
his quarterback doesn't like Call of Duty. This one.
Yeah, I mean, he at least earned some benefit of the doubt here. Is like the lights are not getting to him at this point. Like, he is shining in the big moments, and I mean, because he went into the house of the number one seed and just put up 45 on their ass. So I feel like at the very least, like, I think the Commanders definitely. And you're telling me they're going to play a divisional opponent? Like, come on, they're 100% in this, and I have zero faith in the Eagles unless Saquon runs for like 350 yards. If he does that, the Eagles are winning 100%. But I'm gonna lean Commanders here just because I don't believe in the overall product of the Eagles. Like, they are going to fuck this up somehow. You know, I will be Nazario here today.
All right. Next game. You can you can send me your points later. Just go through real quick and say who you're going. I'm going Philly. Scully.
Philly 4-6.
Robert.
I think I'm also doing Philly for 6.
I'm doing Philly for 6. Coho.
I don't even remember what points I have. I'm going to say.
Just put your point. I don't even think you submitted last week, but who's your pick?
Sure. We'll say Commanders for the max. 11. I think is what I have. Okay.
Mark.
I'm all low points. So I'll take the Commanders for 3.
Okay. Next game. Buffalo Bills. Travel in. The Kansas City Chiefs.
Wow.
We're going for history, baby. We're going for the three-peat. Sorry, Josh. It ain't happening in Arrowhead, I think. Again, welcome to the Mahomes Invitational. It's like this his game. He's lost it. He's won it a lot. Again, voodoo magic, better coach team, overall everything. There's something that's sitting across that sideline that no one is addressing, and that's Sean McDermott. The man that everybody was threatening his job last year, so he's a trial, blah, 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 blah. Listen. Josh Allen and then beat the Kansas City Chiefs in this regular season. I've been on this record for 2 straight seasons of the show saying that I'd rather, like I said earlier today, rather lose the first one because it's hard to beat a team twice. There's a lot of things different with that first matchup that is now different this game. Buffalo got injured. Not Buffalo. Buffalo got injured in the secondary last game. There are secondaries returning for Kansas City. They did not have Hollywood Brown on the field. I don't believe Pacheco back.
I don't think so.
I don't know if Pacheco was back. I don't know if D-Hop was. I think they just acquired D-Hop recently in that time. They've gotten time to work. Noah Gray got slandered the previous week or whatever, but Noah Gray caught, I think, 2 of the touchdown passes in this game thing. Overall, I will be okay to be wrong. It'll suck. I don't want to lose the money, but I will be okay to be wrong with see you, Robert. I don't want to be I'm okay with being wrong. Seeing Josh Allen hold the trophy, I would not be upset in any way, shape, or form. That would be awesome. Seeing Washington hold the trophy, awesome. No problem with that. Seeing Nick Sirianni hold the trophy, that would be rough for me overall. But seeing Saquon hold the trophy, fine with me. I am a football fan. I do not have a fan. I do not have allegiance. But I've never seen this in my time frame. And this is more likable than the previous dynasty that we had. And I'm a Boston Red Sox fan. I did not like the New England Patriots growing up. And it's something, history that's crazy to me. If Mahomes does this, he will have his 4th Super Bowl trophy by age 29. Brady got his 4th at age 37.
Yeah.
We are watching Jordan.
Yeah.
Like, we are watching something that Michael Jordan didn't come Michael Jordan because of he could play basketball really well. He became Michael Jordan is because of what he did, what Larry couldn't do, he did the 3-peat.
Yeah.
To see that be done in this day and age with the salary crap and the overhaul, and they've lost Tyreek Hill, they traded him away, they win. They've done this with Juju Smith-Schuster and fucking Tony, and they've gotten to this point. To see a 3-peat is what I want. I think it's something I don't know when I'll ever have a chance at a 3-peat again. I think Kelsey could also be retiring. I don't think he will. He just signed a 2-year extension. But overall, I could see him heading off into the sunset as well. But he clearly has a passion for this. I think this is going to be another Buffalo heartbreak. I think this is going to be like a 28-27. I think this is going to be like a 30-27 of last-second field goal. I think it's what the Chiefs do. Their backs are going to go through the wall. It's going to end in Mahomes' hands, and it's going to be what we saw. Like, think about this, the Super Bowl, where it was push and tick and tack the entire game. And when it was they got the ball in overtime, and it was just the easiest touchdown we've ever seen in the history of the NFL. It's what they are. And I'm sorry, I will take my entire salary and push it across the table if it's Andy Reid versus Sean McDermott. There is no better coach situation. So I'm going with Andy Reid. I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm locking in for 5 points.
I'll just get mine out of the way. I think the Chiefs are going to 3-peat and win the Super Bowl no matter who comes out of the NFC. I think that the Bills – who would have thought the Bills would lose 4 straight playoff appearances in a row? It's weird. It's crazy that happens. But I think the Bills are destined to lose in the conference championship. I think Josh Allen is not going to win this one. I think it is going to put a lot of pressure on Josh Allen going into next season, and the Bills in general, and McDermott, because this will be the 4th straight year of getting there, being good, and losing, whether it's the conference championship or the divisional, and 3 of those 4 have been to Mahomes and the Chiefs. I think that the Kansas City Chiefs have the Bills' number. They just do, because Andy Reid's a great coach. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback of all time. he is going to take that official GOAT status when he wins the three-peat. I think him having 4 and doing 3 in a row moves him further along than needing to have 7 to match Brady. I think the three-peat accounts for like 2 rings in that differential.
But that's it.
But I think that
He's got to win.
I think they're going to win it.
He's got to win 7 to be in the conversation.
He's got to win 7.
He will enter the conversation now. He wins his 4th one, he will be in the conversation. The problem is he will have to have 7 to bypass, and the three-peat carries him over the 7. Like if he gets 7, and he carries him over.
But the fact that he's going to have 4 at 29,
oh yeah,
it puts him on an insane trajectory to probably even get 8 at that point and break that.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, Chiefs are going to win this because the Chiefs are just it's destiny. The Chiefs are destiny, and they want it more than anything, and they're going to get it because they're just every time the Chiefs play a team this year or last year or every time they're in the playoffs, they just look like they're playing a different sport than the rest of the NFL. They just do. They make it look so easy because they have gotten this thing down. This team is a well-oiled machine. Mahomes is the GOAT. It's going to happen. They're just going to win.
Go Mark next and then Shelly.
We'll just point this out as just like a thing. The reason why Mahomes has to win 7 is because Brady won his last 2 beating Mahomes at the very end of his career.
Yeah.
He has the time. This is the way it is. I'll make the rules. Okay. I'll make the rules.
No, you're 100% correct.
On
a terrible roughing the passer call on Chris Jones, especially. So just want that on the record too.
Yeah, makes me sick.
It happened to Mahomes before Mahomes got the call.
Yeah, that was the passing of the torch right there.
Yeah.
I get one more.
So who you got? You're going Buffalo for the ride of the.
What? I think this game is probably going to set back football 40 years because it's 100. This is going to be a battle of the trenches, 100%. Because Buffalo beat Baltimore because they were able to run the ball more effectively, and they were just able to drain the life out of Baltimore. And honestly, that's probably the way how you're going to beat the Chiefs. You just have to drain the life out of that defense. Like it's the one thing that has consistently worked for Buffalo this entire season. Honestly, that second half when they made the run, and I think it's probably the best way to where you put yourself into a position to win. I mean, we brought up just before is that Buffalo was able to win that game with Josh Allen only throwing for 122 yards. So Buffalo has proven they can win a tough playoff game without Josh Allen being Superman. And part of me is kind of just thinking this in terms of like just storyline, just in a sense, this does feel like if Josh Allen doesn't beat Mahomes here, he probably never will. It feels like that. It seems unfair to put on that, but it just, especially the type of season that Allen is having and kind of the way the Bills have operated, like they've surpassed expectations in being here in the first place. We all thought they would take a step backwards. That just hasn't been the case. I feel like they can do just because the energy around that team feels a bit different. I'm not going to argue too much about like McDermott possibly being outcoached by Andy Reid. It's probably going to happen, but I do think McDermott, I don't think has blatantly put his team in bad situations in this past season. I think McDermott is at least like looked a little bit better in that capacity, where he hasn't just completely fucked them over.
I mean, him scored way too early on the last drive of the game, almost let him tie it. So, but I get you. No, he's been better this season. You're right.
Yeah. So I think at the very least the Bills can win this game. I think the Bills can win this game. It's going to be tough. It's definitely going to be the closest one. Probably be like 20-17 too. It's going to be like just a completely gross score, and everybody's probably going to bitch about it not being a fun game. But like I'm picking the Bills because I honestly want to see that happen more. I have to see Allen succeed at some point because it just doesn't feel like it's going to if it doesn't happen this year.
Really?
I think this game, honestly, is going to go one of two ways. It's going to be A, what Mark described.
Mom's FaceTiming again. Son of a bitch. Hello.
Sorry.
Try
Am I
again.
good now?
Try
Yep.
again, yes.
Fine.
Yes.
It's either going to be a bleeding the clock field position battle shitfest with like 10 field goals, or Buffalo's going to blow the doors off them. I think that's the only other likely scenario, because after, like, this could very well be the breakthrough win that they've needed for years now. Just be an onslaught, and the Chiefs finally just break down and nothing works. I think that's there's a significant possibility that could happen, and we enter this new era of, oh, the AFC is anybody's. It's anybody's now, because the field's now been broken open by the Bills. However, what I believe is going to happen is Josh Allen has the ball down 3 seconds, 4th and goal. He runs it in himself for the touchdown. Extra point crew comes out. Have again. Mitch Trubisky's the hold. A gust of wind forces Trubisky to fumble the snap. So he has to pick it up, and he runs for the end zone, for the pylon, and he gets tackled by Nick Bolton. Tony Romo has to watch the same thing that happened to him happen to Mitch Trubisky. Chiefs win, 23-22.
How do you know it's not going to be like how you predicted last week, where Trubisky runs it in and like,
And Josh Allen
because
beat
this
the
completely
shotgun
fits the
live on
whole
television.
Buffalo cursed against the Chiefs narrative.
My viewpoint on this game is just so interesting because, yeah, like Buffalo on the road has just let up in playoffs as like one of the highest scored against. I like think about when was it the Rams that went in and beat them and just blew them off the wall? Like that's in there. That's in there as that team's dynamic. It just is. I think the defense is so strong of the Chiefs. I think you can load that box all you want, but how many stuffed at the line of scrimmage or 4 or 5 gains you get till you have to switch off to somebody? I think the difference where it be is I think it's a new trend in the NFL. I think it's where it's trending is that 4th down thing, where everybody's just going for it on 4th and just saying fuck it. And I could just see a ball sailing on Mahomes versus Allen being able to run and just gun through the thing. I don't know what ends up happening. I'm hoping this game is just as good as all the other ones, but I could also see this game looking up and being like, son of a bitch. Like they've got the Bills have 12 points and the fucking Chiefs have 24 and they're just holding them and just beating the shit out of them because I think they're made for this. Spags is going to have a different defensive plan than he had the first time. And if you think he spent his time in the offseason like this planning against Houston, no. The reason why Houston's game was closer is because that was a game plan for Baltimore and Buffalo. They knew what they needed to do. They just couldn't fuck it up. I think they were game planning these 3 weeks off for them, and I think it's going to show. Who knows? I'm hoping it's good. We went around. Mark's going to have to leave for a match pretty soon, but I did want to get Scully. He's here for the last bit. I'm going to let him talk. 1 to 10, how excited are you that Ben Johnson is your new head coach of the Chicago Bears?
I love it. I absolutely love it. This is the
I
first
asked you
time
for a
in my
number, asshole.
What?
I asked you for a number. 1 to 10.
Oh, I missed that part. 15.
Okay. You're a Chicago Bears fan. You don't understand assignments. That's fine, but you're excited. Did you like him calling out Matt LaFleur?
Fuck yeah. Let's get this rivalry shit going. Like, let's get some fire back in the rivalry. We beat them in land with half a coaching staff and fucking roster to knock them down to the 7 seed, where they had to play fucking Philly instead of Tampa. Who knows what would have happened if they had played Tampa? So we pretty much ended their season by forcing them to go to Philly in the wild card round. And guess what? My favorite part is every team in the NFC North, all they did was play one more game than us this year. So, where's the talent gap, really?
Yeah, that's fair. Well, that's the show. We are off next week. We will be back for Super Bowl Sunday to talk a recap of the championship games, set up the championship game, and then we will be done for the season. Hope you all have a great night. See ya in 2 weeks.